Hi BookTube! My name is Sarah and welcome to the Bookish Knitter. Today I'm coming to you with my weekly reading update to share with you the books that I finished in this last week. So I have 4 books that I finished, one book I DNF'd, and I'm going to also share with you guys what I'm currently reading. This might be a bit shorter than normal. Reason being is because until this morning I completely forgot that I am doing a recording of the Categorically Romance podcast today. I don't know when the episode's going to go out. I will keep you guys updated. I'll post it or I'll announce it in a video when it does go live in case you want to hear it. I'm going to be talking with them and an author about reading like the Sweet Valley books, Sweet Valley High books and stuff like that, growing up, the Babysitters Club, that kind of throwback stuff that I really, really love. So yeah, I will be sharing with you guys when that episode goes live. So like I said, I finished 5 books this week. I'm going to call that a win because as you guys know, if you watched my video yesterday, it was a bit of a stressful week for me with this exam I had to do for work and all the things, and I'm glad it's done and over now. So, and I did DNF 1 book. 2 of the books that I read were throwback books. One was a Nancy Drew, one was a Sweet Valley High, and then another one was a middle grade book. So these weren't like War and Peace, but you know what? It's fine. It's all wonderful. I'm very, very happy with my reading for this week. So the first book that I finished this week was Sisters in Crime by Carolyn Keene. I gave this book 3.5 stars. This is book number 19 in the Nancy Drew Files series. So in this one, Nancy travels all the way to San Diego, California to investigate the murder of a sorority girl. And it turns out that it might be another girl who is in the same sorority. There's accusations of cheating for exams and things like that. This was cute. It was fun. I liked Nancy. This is, I think, one of the first ones where Nancy isn't in River Heights, where she's actually in, another location. Now, with the Nancy Drew Files, and then she did, there was the skiing one, but I think they were still, this is one where I think that she traveled to an actual other city, not a made-up city, if that makes sense. But yeah, this one was really good. One of the girls drowned. That's how she was murdered, and Nancy, of course, was in danger. She was also on her own in this one. She didn't have Bess, George, or Ned to help her out. And yeah, it was fun. 3.5 stars. I like the series quite a bit. I enjoyed it. The next book I'm going to talk about very quickly is the one that I did DNF, and that was The 10,000 Doors of January by Alix Harrow. I DNF'd this book at 15%. So literally I read like 2 chapters of this book and was completely confused. So I had it both on audio and as an ebook, and I tried both, like to listen to it or to read it. And both ways, I was like utterly confused as to what was going on. I felt like the author was jumping around a lot, between like the second chapter started saying like, oh, I found my next door when I was 17. And then all of a sudden, with no rhyme or reason, we're jumping back to when she was 9. And I'm just like, was totally confused. Fantasy is not for me. I just didn't, I'm not saying that I didn't like this. I can't say whether I like this book or I didn't like this book. But this could have been a case where this wasn't the right book for me right now. Maybe I had too many other things going on and I needed simpler, easier reading. This one was beyond my brain scope, maybe, for last week. I have it on ebook. I do own a copy of it. Maybe I will circle back around to it at some point. I know a lot of people really, really like it, but maybe I am just also not a fantasy reader, which is, again, like I was kind of hoping it was going to be more like Addie LaRue by Victoria Schwab, which I think I had wrong. The E. Schwab. I think I had the author wrong the last time I talked about that one. That one was really good, and it wasn't. This one I just found like it jumped around way too much, and even within those first 2 chapters. So it was a not for me this time book. The next book that I finished was my one romance book of the week, and that was A Chance for the Rancher by Brenda Harlen. I gave this book 4 stars. This is part of my Harlequin project where I am reading my way through all of the, all of the category romance books from February 2020 on, and trying to read old stuff too that I have on my shelf, but that's besides the point. So I liked this one. This one I liked better than the first book in this bind up of 3. Yeah, this one was the story of Brooke and Patrick, and this is the 7th book in a Match Made in Haven series. So Haven is a small town. I can't remember what state it's in. But anyway, Brooke is a local veterinarian, and she has a young son who's 7 years old. And Patrick is a former, he comes from a very, very well-to-do family. He comes from money. He has money. And the family owns this mining company, and he was working at the head office, and he wasn't enjoying it. And he wanted to open, for all intents and purposes, a dude ranch where, you know, these city slicker type people could come to this ranch and, you know, get rid of their suits for a weekend and put on cowboy boots and you know, learn about riding horses and cows and all the things. Like, think the movie City Slickers, for those of you of a certain age who might know the movie that I'm talking about. That kind of an idea. That's what he was doing. So the book starts off with Brooke being called to Patrick's ranch to help with an injured animal, and he immediately has an attraction to her, and he's not, like, he's definitely pursuing her, let's put it that way. And she's like, you know, I've got a kid, right? Like, she knows that he's kind of a bit of a playboy, if you will, and, you know, not one to settle down. She's got to think about her son. Of course, one thing leads to another. The son ends up meeting Patrick and, you know, kind of desperate for a father figure, kind of an idea. And the story goes from there. Again, I enjoyed it. Brenda Harlen is a great writer. Like I said, this is the 7th in the series. I don't think I've read any of the previous ones in the series, but I'm going to have to go back and read some of those. And I know that there's more that follow this book. I think I read books that follow later in the series, but not books that came before this one, I think. I'm not absolutely certain. But yeah, 4 stars. I enjoyed this one. Next up, another 4-star read was What Lives in the Woods by Lindsay Currie. And I was talking to Storm about this one on the live reading sprints I did on Friday night. And she was saying, I enjoyed this book, but I didn't like it as much as Scritch Scratch. And she was commenting that Scritch Scratch seems to be everybody's favorite. So it's like I started with, like, her best book. And not like these ones are bad, because they're not bad, but they are not as good as Scritch Scratch. So this is the story of a young girl, 12-year-old girl named Ginny, who, her family is going to this small town in Michigan, to this old mansion that's been abandoned. Her father's an architect or something like that, and he's going to revive this mansion over the course of the summer to get people in, you know, like to come and see this place so it doesn't get torn down, essentially. But the whole town does not like this place because they, you know, there's stuff that they feel like it's just spooky and all these things. So she's heard the stories of these people called, or these beings maybe called, the hitchhikers, who live in the woods around this mansion. And when her and her brother and her parents arrive at the mansion, there's a haunting going on. And so Ginny wants to find out about the haunting. The title is misleading, and we talked about this in the live show, because the story is not about these creatures in the woods. It's about the haunting of this mansion, which, I mean, I wasn't disappointed about. I liked the book. Like, again, I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed this one, but it wasn't as good as Scritch Scratch, to be honest. What I do like about Lindsay Currie, and I think I mentioned this in another video, is that she's writing a spooky story for kids, but she's not making it like, oh, you know, at the end of the book, it turns out it was, you know, this old thing rattling around in the attic. That's what was making it sound like it was a ghost. She's, you know, leaning into the ghosts, essentially. Like, these are real. And she's not discounting the fact that they're real and they're really being haunted. You know, like, it's not like there's a logical scientific explanation for this and we're going to find out what it is. No. Like, this is a ghost story and they're about ghosts and the ghosts are real. And I really, really like that. I do. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And in that aspect, and Scritch Scratch was the same way. She leaned into the ghost story itself. So yeah, I mean, I didn't dislike this one. I did enjoy it. Again, 4 stars. It was really fun. Our female lead, Ginny, fancies herself as an Agatha Christie wannabe. She wants to be a writer. My biggest issue why this one didn't get a higher star rating from me is that Ginny actually kind of annoyed me at the very beginning. Like, right from the beginning, like, I understand that your summer's being upended and you're angry, but, like, right from the get-go, she's trying to find ways to get back home because she was supposed to go to this writing workshop with her best friend, and her father or her parents were dragging her to this mansion and she didn't want to go. And, like, you know, from the second she got there, she's trying to find ways to get home. It's like, I'm sorry, hun. Buck it up and deal. Like, you know, I understand you can be upset, but to actively go out of your way to try and find ways to get it, just, she seemed a little bratty to me, let's put it that way. And, you know, I can see the appeal, though, if you were a 12-year-old reading this, but as an adult, I'm like, you're being a little bratty. But that's why I didn't get a higher star rating from me. But I did enjoy it. So I'm not saying don't read it. I'm definitely saying give it a read if this is your kind of thing. But Scritch Scratch was better. And the last book that I finished yesterday was Head Over Heels by Francine Pascal. I gave this one 3.5 stars. This is book number 18 in the Sweet Valley High series. This one is about the relationship between Bruce Patman and Regina Morrow. She is the newish girl in school. She arrived a few books earlier and she is deaf. But she is Sweet Valley High deaf. That makes sense. She's deaf, but she can perfectly read lips. And she can talk perfectly as well. So if you are someone who is hard of hearing, or if you know someone who is, you know, deaf as well, there's because they haven't heard how speech, that's how it's been described to me, that they do tend to talk a little differently. But no, Regina talks perfectly. Perfectly. Again, she's Sweet Valley deaf. So in Sweet Valley, nothing, you know, like, this is a big to-do, like the fact that, oh my God, she's deaf. But she can read lips perfectly and all these other things, right? So anyway, it's a thing. So Bruce Patman fancies himself for her, and the two of them have been seeing each other, and, you know, they're in love and all these things. And her mother blames herself for Regina's, this is the term they use in the book. I don't consider it to be so, but her disability, her deafness. And they go into the backstory of what happened. Her mother was a model, and she took some sort of she knew she was pregnant and took some sort of a weight loss pill, and it caused her deafness. Lucky it just caused deafness. It's just, let's not go there. But anyway, very dangerous. So, the mother's always blamed herself, and then now they have this, like, amazing doctor, of course, in Switzerland, who is willing to do this operation on Regina, but she has to go away for an entire year, but it can cure her deafness, and blah, blah, blah. And being a 16-year-old girl in love with this older boy, she does not want to leave Sweet Valley. She likes her life the way it is. Why are they upending her? She's fine with it. The one thing I did like in this book is that she was fine with being deaf, which is why it got a higher star. Like, she didn't consider it to be a problem. She's like, it's fine. I don't care. You know, I want to stay here. This is the first school that I feel like I'm a part of things, and I'm making friends, and I have a boyfriend, and all the things. Like, why are you trying to fix something that I don't think is broken, essentially, right? So that's the one thing that I really liked about this book, and I wish the ending had been different. I wish that she had kind of stood her ground and just said, you know what? I don't want to go to Switzerland. I want to stay here. This is the way I want it to go, right? But they didn't. She ended up saying, oh, it would be far better if I wasn't deaf. You know, I could, you know, be more in society and all these things. And off she flies to Switzerland. Bruce, of course, being, if anyone's read Sweet Valley High, you know what a jerk Bruce can be. But he was really good about it. And he's like, you know, you should go. And I think it's the best thing for you, and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, I did like that part of it, even though I still don't think that she needed to go, but that's besides the point. But because I've read the series, I know what happens in a number of books to come with Regina and Bruce. And that very sweet relationship that they had at the end of this book does not play out well in a book to come when Regina comes back from Switzerland. So that's called foreshadowing, kids. But yeah, I mean, it was Sweet Valley, for the time period, this came out in the early 80s, did kind of try and tackle some like more difficult issues, I guess, you know, deafness or what some people might consider to be a disability and how it's handled. And, you know, it really does make you stop though and think, what would you do? Like if you were, because Regina's family is extremely well-to-do. Her father was a former pro football player who retired with all this money. Her mother was a former model, so they were a very well-to-do family. Paying for this treatment, paying for this surgery did not make them blink an eye. So it's one of those things, like if you knew that you could fix something for your child, would you do that? Or would you, you know, or you as a person, would you, you know what I mean? So it kind of makes you think about those kind of things. And yeah, this is one that I liked a bit more than some more recent ones. But again, I kind of wish there had been a bit of a different ending. But I guess that wouldn't play for the story going forward, like the story arc going forward with these characters, because that's the thing about Sweet Valley. Yes, you could pick up one book and read it, but really this series is meant to be read in order because it's a soap opera. It's, you wouldn't necessarily just start watching a soap opera, just watch one episode 1 week and then a month later watch another episode. That's not what you would do. You would start watching it and just, you know what I mean? So anyway, I enjoyed it, 3.5 stars. So the last thing I want to share with you guys is what I'm currently reading. So no crafting this week, nothing like that to show you. I don't have anything like that to show you. So I am currently reading for my Harlequin project. I'm planning to finish it today. I meant to finish it yesterday, but I did not get as much reading done yesterday as I wanted to, is Daughter on His Doorstep by Therese Southwick. This is another special edition novel. Have to admit, you guys, there's not very much romance in this one. Like, this story is really, I mean, it's a good story and I'm enjoying it. I don't want to get into the whole plot, but I'll wait till next week when I talk about it. But there's a distinct lack of romance in this book. I'm like 80% of the way in and stuff has just started happening. I'm like, okay, sure, we'll go there. But yeah, so this is the one that I plan to finish today. I plan to start today, Peril at Owl Park by Martha Jocelyn. This is Aggie Morton. Mystery Queen book number 2. This is a middle grade book. I am looking forward to starting this one. I think it's going to be great. Yay, I cannot wait to dive into this one. I do absolutely love the cover. And I love the snowman. With like, he's been stabbed in the back. I didn't even realize, because there's his arm, there's his other arm, and then there's they stabbed him in the back. I love it. I love it. This is going to be so much fun. And my current audiobook that I'm listening to is How to Kiss Your Best Friend by Jenny Proctor. This is the first book in the Hawthorne Brothers series. I'm about 20% of the way through this. I did start this on Friday night. I listened to a little bit of it yesterday, but Garrett and I were out for most of the day. But I plan to do a good chunk of listening to this one today when I am doing a live show this evening, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard, if anyone is interested, over on Tiffany's channel, The Beach Bum Bookworm. I will be participating in that. They will be talking about a book that they're all reading together called, is it Deadly Alterations? It's part of a series. I cannot remember the series. The Southern Sewing Circle series. That's what it is. I did not read the book, but I'm still going to jump into the live show and just participate and just listen to everybody's opinions and talking and what everybody else is reading. I just love being part of the live shows because I do always get a great amount of reading done during those times. Anyway, guys, that's it. Like I said, I am jumping into a podcast recording in a little bit, and I'm super, super excited. I can't wait. And I hope you guys like this video. Let me know, what did you read this week? What was your favorite book that you read this week? And until my next video, everybody, take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.